may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
All right, guys, y'all absolutely killed the like button on the rest of season running back rankings. So we are going to do the same thing for wide receivers, tight ends, and quarterbacks, just because y'all showed so much support on that running back video. But please, guys, these videos take me hours to make. It's really hard to go out there, do the research for the video, get everything done in terms of the pictures, get everything ordered in terms of just honestly formatting the video. So please, if I'm going to spend hours a week, hours a day making all these videos, please make sure you spend 3 seconds to go down there and drop that like. And also, while you're down there, I need you to say 2 things in the comment section. One, I need you to let me know if there are any other videos you would like to see, or if there are anything else I can do in the live stream to improve the experience for you, because you are the reason that this channel is thriving. The amount of times that you go down there, like the video, leave a comment, support in the live stream, support on Patreon, it all means so much for this channel's success. So I want to give you exactly what you would like. And also, while you are down there in the comments, make sure if there was a wide receiver that I left off of this list that you think deserves to be in the top 24, let me know. Just don't tell me the wide receiver name though. Tell me the wide receiver name and also give me a short explanation on why you think that they deserved to be in this top 24. Also, let me know who you would be taking out of the top 24 to slide them in, because there are a lot of players I wanted to include. I just couldn't because there are so many solid wide receivers currently in the NFL. Now, let's get into this video and let's start it off with Davante Adams. Guys, with Davante Adams, I think we're going to have no arguments here. I mean, just the most alpha wide receiver by every definition of the word. If we are just looking at his target share in his offense, I know Marquez Valdes-Scantling had that massive game this past week. Honestly, 2 weeks ago, he had a pretty impressive performance as well. But MVS is going to be a field stretching wide receiver that really he is not going to be able to provide us that consistent production. All he is going to be doing is clearing out the space for Davante Adams to operate all over the football field. Davante Adams is seeing consistently 30% of his team's targets. There is no explanation for having any wide receiver over Davante Adams at 1. All right, now coming in here at 2, this is where it gets a little bit tougher, but we are going to come down to Tyreek Hill. So with Tyreek Hill, I just think that he has the ceiling that nobody else in fantasy football can really provide, playing with the best quarterback in the NFL, having probably the best speed in the NFL, and he has showed us year over year over year that we can rely on that top 5 wide receiver production. Yes, we can see some arguments for having another wide receiver here. We'll get to him at 3. But with Tyreek Hill, I think what he has showed us so far in 2020 is exactly in line with what we expected, as well as his production the past 2 seasons. Okay, so now coming in here at 3, we have DeAndre Hopkins. I know a lot of people want to be emotional and probably put Hopkins all the way up at 1 after that fantastic catch to win the game over Buffalo last week. Yes, Kyler Murray looks like he could be easily the best quarterback in the NFL maybe a year from now. Maybe he's the best fantasy quarterback right now. We will get into that in our rest of season quarterback rankings. Regardless, Hopkins is a player that is not necessarily in that same tier of a Davante Adams type for me, because we have not seen Adams have one disappointing performance throughout the entire 2020 season in games where he was fully healthy. Hopkins, we have seen that in his range of outcomes. Clearly still an elite wide receiver. We are just nitpicking here in the top 3. DeAndre Hopkins is going to round us out. Okay, now coming in here at 4, I think that this is going to be a drop-off in tier from DeAndre Hopkins, but we are going to have Julio Jones. Guys, with Julio Jones, he is just probably one of the best wide receivers of the decade, probably the best wide receiver of the decade, at least since I've been playing fantasy football. I mean, just consistent top production. There's no reason to expect anything else. I know we actually had some other secondary wide receivers for the Atlanta Falcons put up a massive performance back in week 9. Regardless, I think going into week 11, when Calvin Ridley's coming back into this offense, we expect Julio Jones to maintain his same role, and defenses aren't really going to be able to spend all of their defensive attention against Julio Jones when Calvin Ridley is that great option on the other side. Okay, so now coming in here, rounding out our top 5, this is going to surprise some people after his disappointing week, DK Metcalf. Guys, with DK Metcalf, please do not overthink it. I know Jalen Ramsey was able to shut him down. I know a lot of people are worried in our live streams that we are going to see the same thing in week 16 with DK Metcalf. Personally, I think that Metcalf is going to be a top 5 option based on the efficiency that we have with this overall Seattle Seahawks passing attack. And yes, it is worrisome that DK Metcalf is going up against Ramsey in week 16, but I say this all the time when we are talking about the fantasy football playoffs. Weeks 14 and weeks 15 are significantly more important. Just knowing that if you gear up for week 16, if that's the week that you play around, you're most likely not even going to get there because you're going to have to win 2 games in a row before then just to get to the dance. So really, I'm not worried about how we're going to be performing in week 16 right now. I am more worried about getting there past the first 2 rounds in our fantasy football playoffs. Okay, so now coming in here at 6, I know this is also going to be a surprise for some people, but really this is just an entire tier of wide receiver. We are going to have Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs is very similar to some of these other alpha wide receivers that we are talking about, and that he is consistently seeing 30% of his team's targets. And as well, he actually has a very high average depth of target, and we see that combination very rarely in fantasy football. Going to be hard to get away from Stefon Diggs outside the top 5. The only reason that he is in here at 6 behind Julio Jones and DK Metcalf is Stefon Diggs does have a bye week this week, so we are going to be having him for 1 less game, which actually makes a big difference when there are only about 4 games left in most people's fantasy football season. So yeah, missing 1 game is going to make him get knocked down here to 6. Okay, so A.J. Brown coming in here at 7. A.J. Brown's probably our number 1 trade target this week. I know, horrendous performance against the Indianapolis Colts on Thursday night. The Colts have an elite defense, and we know that A.J. Brown lives off of efficiency, which is going to lead to more volatility because he is not getting the consistent volume each and every week. I don't care. A.J. Brown is a stud. He's going to bounce back. We've seen him maintain near the top of the NFL in efficiency marks ever since Ryan Tannehill took over as quarterback since 2019. Really not worried. Okay, now coming in here at 8, I think that we would have him ahead of A.J. Brown if he was 100% healthy, but that's just not the case. Calvin Ridley, y'all know that he was one of our top 2 draft day targets in 2020, only behind JuJu Smith-Schuster. We loved Calvin Ridley. I think it's going to be hard to get him outside the top 10 just with the elite production he showed so far through 2020. I expect no reason for that to go away anytime soon. Okay, now coming in here at 9, you can make the argument for him to be way up at number 5. I mean, he is that talented, but we are going to have Keenan Allen. Guys, Keenan Allen just seeing so many targets with one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I know it's Justin Herbert's rookie season, so it's so bold to say that, but I do not care. We have not seen a rookie season like this since Deshaun Watson back in for the Houston Texans in 2017. I mean, Keenan Allen is going to be that consistent alpha wide receiver target, and he has a great schedule in the fantasy football playoffs. Okay, so now coming in here at 10, our number, I would say 3 trade target this week is going to be Michael Thomas. So Michael Thomas has to fit in the top 10 based on the historical production that we have on him. If we look back at his 2019 season, I know it's been very worrisome so far in New Orleans, but I actually think that Jameis Winston is going to come in, help out the skill positional players for the New Orleans Saints. Obviously not going to help the Saints themselves, but I think overall we are going to be expecting more targets going to Michael Thomas. Going to have him in here at 10. Okay, now coming in here at 11, someone else that made our trade target list at the wide receiver position, Tyler Lockett. With Tyler Lockett, guys, everything that we are looking about is efficiency, volatility. I know y'all are so tired of hearing me say those 2 words, but it is true. I think it is going to be so valuable to go out there and buy Tyler Lockett right now that his price has dipped, especially with the injury that he is dealing with, just because we know with Tyler Lockett, he does have in his range of outcomes to be the wide receiver 1 overall in any given week. Going to be something that we cannot look to avoid. Okay, now rounding out our top 12 wide receivers, we are going to have someone who's possibly suffering from some of the worst quarterback play in the entire NFL right now. Scary Terry. Scary Terry right now, based off of a talent and an opportunity standpoint, I think that you could make the argument of having him all the way probably up there at number 3. I mean, it looks very, very, very rare that we see this talent and opportunity combination with horrendous quarterback play to lead to this kind of production. So I know that's probably a little bit confusing, but what that tells me is that Scary Terry is a legit talent, and the only thing holding him back is this overall offense. I know Alex Smith, a fantastic story. I mean, probably the NFL Comeback Player of the Year, but still, I don't think we can be irrational in our fantasy football evaluations. I think we have to look at Alex Smith and what he has provided so far for this Washington offense. I mean, it is not good. Okay, so coming in here at 13, Will Fuller. Will Fuller is someone that I'm going to be a lot higher on than consensus. Another player that is making our trade target list, going up against the New England Patriots this week. I think that this is going to be a massive bounce back spot for the Houston Texans, who had horrendous weather issues last week in Cleveland. I think that we are going to be over that. Deshaun Watson is going to be able to move the ball down the field, and he's going to do that with his wide receiver 1 target in Will Fuller. Okay, so coming in here at 14, we're going to have a wide receiver that we are higher on than consensus last week, but we are going to keep him at the same spot. Chris Godwin. Yes, Chris Godwin. We are a little bit concerned with all the target competition in Tampa Bay with Antonio Brown and Mike Evans, but I'm going to maintain what we've said ever since Antonio Brown signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chris Godwin is mainly playing the slot for this team. We have Antonio Brown and Mike Evans really working on the outside. So I think if anything, we see Evans and Antonio Brown possibly eat into each other a little bit, where Godwin is really able to thrive over the middle. Okay, so coming in here at 15, talk about a wide receiver with horrendous quarterback play but a ton of talent. We are going to have Allen Robinson. Guys, with Allen Robinson, I am not worried about the change over to Mitchell Trubisky. Nick Foles was not providing him anything close to average NFL quarterback play. I was actually wondering why they were not going with Trubisky outside of the shoulder injury regardless. I thought that if Foles went through that game entirely healthy, if Trubisky was also 100% healthy going into week 12, we were actually going to have an interesting conversation of what quarterback this team wanted to start. Now, if they don't have that option, they're going to be going with Trubisky. But personally, I'm not too worried. I think that it can't be worse than what we were seeing with Nick Foles. Okay, coming in here at 16, a wide receiver that we are higher on than pretty much anybody else and have been for a very long time. Y'all know I've been calling him the wide receiver 1 in Minnesota, Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is currently having the most efficient wide receiver season from any rookie that we have ever seen. You can make the argument that this is the most impressive 21-year-old season that we've ever had in the entire NFL. Clearly, you can choose a couple players that would go against that argument. Maybe a JuJu Smith-Schuster, maybe a Randy Moss. I mean, y'all can go with it. Regardless, Justin Jefferson, an elite wide receiver option, elite efficiency, and playing in an offense where I think he's going to be able to continue to expand his target share. Okay, so coming in here at 17, he's going to be all the way down here because his quarterback suffered an injury. He's dealing with his own. Is going to be Kenny Golladay. Guys, with Golladay, we know if Stafford is 100% healthy, if Kenny Golladay is also 100% healthy, he is going to be a low-end wide receiver 1. But with the wide receiver dealing with hip injury, with the quarterback dealing with a thumb injury, I think we are going to have to be a little bit more cautious and rank him down here as a mid wide receiver 2. Okay, so coming in here at 17, Adam Thielen, the wide receiver 2 in Minnesota. What's great about Minnesota, though, is outside of Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, really nobody else sees any targets whatsoever, so we're not going to be too worried about it. Okay, so coming in here at 19, we are going to have what I perceive to be the wide receiver 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Diontae Johnson. Now, y'all know I wish this was JuJu, but it's not. Diontae Johnson consistently seeing double-digit targets for this Pittsburgh Steelers offense. On top of that, this was actually his first week in his entire NFL career where he went over 100 receiving yards. I mean, he's clearly trending in the right direction. Okay, so JuJu is actually going to come in here following him in at 20. With JuJu, I think maybe he has the highest floor out of all of these wide receivers in Pittsburgh. You can easily make the argument that he has the lowest ceiling, but we've seen JuJu consistently come back after hitting his low point earlier on this season and provide us consistent wide receiver 2 production. Okay, so Chase Claypool is going to come in here and round us out with 3 straight Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers. Guys, if you could, please go down to the comments below. Let me know how you would rank these 3 players. I'm extremely bullish on all of them. I think that we are going to see them be a little bit inconsistent week to week just because they are going to be taking away targets from each other, but they all have a very high upside. Okay, so Cooper Kupp is going to come in here at 22. Looks like I was just entirely wrong on what to expect from Robert Woods. I will say, though, with Cooper Kupp, it is worrisome now that we are having Josh Reynolds as an every down player for this Los Angeles Rams offense. I think Kupp is definitely the more talented wide receiver, but we just don't want targets being taken away from him. Okay, so coming in here at 23, the guy that I told y'all last week was the #1 wide receiver in Cincinnati. I got some hate for it. Y'all were telling me that I needed to have Tyler Boyd up as a high-end wide receiver 2, low-end wide receiver 1. I stood by the fact that he was not that, but instead we are going to have T. Higgins in here at 23, a wide receiver where we love the talent profile. I think that he is going to be able to consistently improve with Joe Burrow as the year goes on, and that T. Higgins has already showed us incredible features of his game at 21 years old, so there's no reason to expect that this wide receiver cannot continue to progress. Okay, rounding us out here at 24, there are about 10 wide receivers that could have made this spot. Let me know who you think that I missed that should have been included, but we are going to have Robby Anderson. Yes, with Anderson, I mean, we are just seeing consistent production from both Curtis Samuel or DJ Moore every single week. You can pretty much guarantee that one of those wide receivers is going to go off, but on the hand of Robby Anderson, we are seeing him actually maintain his consistent target share in the offense, where I think he is going to be the Carolina Panthers wide receiver that we want. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, please make sure you go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Really, really helps us out, and I hope I'll see y'all in the live stream tonight.